Good afternoon and welcome to this week's episode of Rachel Gaffney's Real Ireland, coming to you from the Lincoln Center studios here in Dallas, Texas. It is cold outside. Finally, winter's hit us, Anna. Are you happy it's here?
I'm going to be honest, I'm actually happy. My husband is just telling me how crazy I am, but I feel like I was so done with the heat that I'm really looking forward to the cold. How about you?
I agree. And I think for people who don't live in a climate like this, they think, oh, look at you complaining about the heat. But I like my seasons. I like, autumn and winter and spring and summer. I just, I can't, or as you call it over here, the fall. But I like my seasons. I know I'm embracing a bit of the cold. It's 46 degrees outside right now, which for us is amazing because it dropped from 90 degrees the other day.
Yeah.
We had a tornado last week here in Dallas. So many people were hit. And now we're in 45 degrees. So, what do they say about the weather in Texas? If you don't like it, just wait a minute. It'll change.
I never heard that one, actually.
You haven't? How long have you lived here in Texas?
3 years. I guess that's fair enough.
They talk about the weather all the time here, saying, if you don't like it, just wait a minute. So anyway, well, listen, I guess the hair out of my eye, it's doing its own thing today. It's a bit breezy as well. Well, this is very apropos because we're talking about it cold and wintry and all that outside. And this is the perfect day to talk about wintry and winter food. And for me, that means soup. I don't know about you guys, but I love soup. I don't know why I don't eat it all year round. I mean, I could eat it in the summer as well, but for some reason I don't.
Nah, not the same.
I know. But anyway, it's here. And my husband will probably divorce me, file for divorce shortly because that's all I do is I make soups. It's kind of like Rachel's soup kitchen, and I could eat the same one for days on end and then start a new one. And but I love soup. I really do. How about you, Anna? Do you have any particular soup you like?
I do. Hang on, let me just pull my camera. I do love potato soup with leeks and mushrooms. That's pretty good. As a side note, we're having a lot of interaction on Facebook. Hello to everybody who's watching. We have Theresa Murphy and then Bob Altman and Sarah Crilly on the comment section. Hello, everyone.
Hello.
Clearly food talks to everybody.
I want to know from any of those guys who are there if they want to comment or whatever. I'd love to know what your favorite soup is.
Oh, yes.
Because I think we should all be doing this kind of soup-a-thon, sharing soup recipes. Today, I actually brought some of my own soup into the studio. And very apropos that I've got my orange Le Creuset, very Halloween-y because tomorrow's Halloween, the eve of Halloween. And so this is my soup that's I made yesterday and brought into the guys here in the studio, which, by the way, lunch is served after the show, ladies and gents. And
I cannot wait for that.
I know. And then I made some soda bread, and there's so many variations of making this soda bread. But what I wanted to talk about was how basic the two of these are. And in this era, I watch on TV all the time, all the different food shows, or if I'm watching something on some TV segment, everybody's talking about everything needing to be done, the word I'm allergic to, super fast, super quick. That adjective is losing its potency. Sorry, people. Sorry, y'all. I sound like an old woman complaining about the word super. But everything needs to be done. Oh, if you're in a hurry and get this done and drive it through and get... I watch when they're talking about fashion or they're talking about makeup tutorials. They take their time doing that. But why don't we take our time looking after what's going inside our bodies? And so I, like everybody else, am in a hurry and have a busy life. And but I think we need to slow down a little bit. So you look at the slow food movement. I mean, that's what that's about. That started a long time ago, but we need to just slow it down. And there is almost some therapy involved in, and don't laugh at me, but nobody likes to just have to peel potatoes. I'm not saying that there's a joy in that. Okay. But if you're preparing a whole load of vegetables for a dish, I like to turn on Turner Classic Movies in the background. There's something very, very calming about Turner Classic Movies for me. I'm a nut. I love that channel. But I'll turn that on and I'll make some soup. So today, I thought I'd talk to you about one of these soups that I got this recipe, or actually I came up with this soup, and it's a hybrid of, I was watching the Food Network a few weeks ago and something came on Saturday morning. I was cleaning up my closet and they were making some soup, and in the background I could hear them talking about different flavors. I thought, those flavors sound good. And then I make an awful lot of root vegetables, which is very Irish. We use a lot of root vegetables. And I wonder if people realize how many vegetables are under that category of root vegetables. So for example, potatoes, garlic, turmeric, rutabagas, turnips, sweet potatoes. I mean, I could go on. The list is endless when it comes to root vegetables, beets and radishes and all of those. Now, I don't put radishes in my soup, but, I definitely love to use an awful lot of root vegetables. But the other thing is we're now in the winter season, autumn, fall, and it's that time of year for lots and lots of squash. I mean, you see it everywhere because, of course, Halloween now. You've got the gourds and you've got the decorative ones. So don't confuse those. You don't want to use those in this soup, okay? But the different types of one, I think I took a photograph of just a selection of the ones I got in the grocery store the other day. All right. So as you can see, the color isn't great because of my countertop is granite. So it's that whitey color. But can you see the ginger at the front?
Yeah, that looks great.
Okay, I love fresh ginger. I use that all the time. And if we go back to that photograph, I want to show you going anti-clockwise to the left. That is actually a turnip, a purple top turnip. I thought it was going to be a rutabaga, but it's a purple top turnip. In the middle, you've got the acorn squash. At the back, you've got the butternut squash. And in the far left, can you see that one in the far left?
Yep.
That winter squash, that's the kabocha squash, or it's a type of Japanese squash. Now, I wonder if people know the difference between summer squash and winter squash. Do you know the difference, Anna, between summer and winter squash?
No, but I'm sure you're going to let us know. I need to know.
So the squash would be like zucchini and all that. In Ireland and England, we call, them eggplant and aubergine. No,
yes.
Aubergines and courgettes, and they're eggplant and zucchinis here. Gosh, I don't know why we don't have the same names for everything.
I know.
But those are the softer skins, and there's a whole selection of those. The winter squash, when they're harvested, they're allowed to sit out and dry so they get a much firmer texture on the exterior. And what that does is it preserves the actual vegetable itself on the inside for so much longer. Sorry, whoops, did I smack the microphone there?
Just a little bit.
But anyway, so those are the winter squash. So I just took a selection of those. So let me tell you what I did. First of all, I took a yellow onion. Or you can use a Spanish onion if you prefer the sweeter flavor. I took one onion, one large onion, and finely chopped it. Basically, I snapped off an arm of that ginger, and I peeled it and finely chopped it. I used my Kerrygold butter, my big, and I
good old friend.
And you say, how much butter do you use, Rachel? A knob of butter. But I just used a big old chunk of it and just threw it in my Le Creuset. See this one here? This is what I love about this soup. With this pot, I love it. Can you see the size of the butter? It's probably a tablespoon or a half or whatever, but I didn't measure it. As you can see, I just whopped a piece off and threw it in the Le Creuset. As you can tell, I'm no chef. I cook from memory, I cook from flavor, I cook from, the ideas of something that I like. So the butter goes in there. And then I threw in all of the onions, and I peeled and sliced 2 carrots, or 3. Actually, I did 3 carrots. And threw those in. So it was onions and carrots in the butter and a little bit of that chopped ginger. So I did that first. And then I prepped all of my vegetables. Now, the thing about soup is the girls said, some of the ladies here were trying some of the soup earlier on, and they were talking about the flavor, and they were asking me about some of the keys to good flavor. The thing about soup is first of all, you want great ingredients, but sometimes the ingredients don't perform so well. You don't know when you get the squash and you peel it if the flavor's not great.
Right.
But I think like a really, really good stock makes all the difference. And I I'm not knocking anybody. I buy store-bought, but I do make my own stock.
Vegetable stock? Or?
I make vegetable stock, chicken stock. I just make stock. I actually keep a lot of chicken stock, vegetable stock, and turkey stock on hand. And here's the thing. If you were to set aside some time, go buy yourself a chicken, okay? Put it in a big old stock pot, a big saucepan with some water, some bay leaves, peppercorns. You don't worry about peeling carrots. You just chop them up loosely, chop up the onions, skins and all, celery stalks, throw them all in. Bring them to a boil a little bit, then simmer and let it go for a while. You now have the best stock you can get. And what I do is, when the stock is done, I put it in Ziploc bags, those gallon Ziploc bags, and I lie them flat.
That's smart.
Yeah. And I stack them on top of each other in the freezer, in my back freezer. So I always have, same with my turkey. At the end of the Christmas, I take out my turkey and I make my stock. So if you have stock on hand, if not. But the key to this was 2 cans of coconut milk. So what I did is I took all of these vegetables, threw all of those in. Then I threw in 3 cloves of garlic, finely chopped. And then I threw in 2 cans of unsweetened coconut milk. And
right,
the key
we
is
do,
the...
we do have some images of some videos of that. Would you like me to play that?
Oh, please do, yeah. It's of the coconut milk.
So this is just the vegetables.
Yeah, you can see how they're just roughly chopped. Now, you don't want them all hugely different sizes, and I didn't want them all finely diced, because I want to be able to bite into this and have a chunk of it in my soup. So that's kind of the size there. You can see them all in there glistening in that lovely, yummy, yellowy butter, that Kerrygold butter.
How long until these reaches this
there we
point?
go. So there's 2 cans of unsweetened coconut milk that went into it. And then I put in 2 teaspoons of Thai curry paste, just to give it... Now, do you see that, what's happening there?
That's the story of my life. Can we please talk about how to fix this, or
Okay.
you just give us your
When you say
advice?
fix this, I think you need to tell people what it is you want to know.
Okay, so normally when I use my coconut milk, probably has been sitting in my pantry for a while. So my question is, when it gets all lumpy and just falls, kind of like there's the kind of the blob of it, and then there's the water, is that normal? Should I do like shake it beforehand, not shake it beforehand? Is this not a problem? You tell us, because I need to know.
All right, so with coconut milk, what happens is it's separating. So the milk is going to the bottom, and most of that coconut residue is coming to the top, because there's no emulsifier in there, which is what binds it together. So when you undo your can, and you can see mine was too. Now, I just did mine. I just threw it all in, as you can see. And when you're making curries and stews and soups and things like that with coconut milk, bung it all in. It's fine. So what you should do is open the can, whether it's a pull or a can opener, and you can take a little spatula or spoon and stir it all in. I actually did that in the second one, because that, when it plops like that, it can also go all over your clothes. But what you do is stir it all together and then throw it in. The heat will break it down.
Oh, okay.
And it'll be fine. Now, if you're not making a stew or a curry or something, and you're using coconut milk, and you don't want it all kind of congealed like that, what you can actually do is put it in a little bowl in the microwave, or you can put it in a saucepan and just kind of lightly heat it, and it'll all become just like milk again. So it's not gone off. It's just that there's no emulsifier in there, so it's just separating. So that's all that is.
Got it.
So I threw in my 2 cans of coconut milk, and then I threw in my chicken stock, and then I give it a quick old stir, and then I let it cook for... I think for that, with those sizes, it only took about 20 minutes. Now do a simmer. So as you can see, this is all in one pot. I started with the butter in here and the onions and the garlic, and I started adding everything in different stages. And then towards the very end, I let it simmer for about, I'd say 25 minutes. And then I turned it off. And for me, I literally closed the lid and I left it there.
Oh, okay.
And the heat from the Le Creuset, these big old heavy cast iron ones, it continues to cook. It's kind of like if you're doing pasta and you take it off, and you drain it. Remember, the steam, it's still cooking. There's further cooking. Once there's heat, it's cooking. So by doing that, I left it in there, and then towards the very end, when I'm about to serve it, and here's where the kind of Irish side of me comes in as well. So I've got a mixture of root vegetables and different types of winter squash in here. And then I threw in kale. Now, I love kale, but a lot of people will say to me that they're not great fans of kale.
You like kale? Wait, but do you like kale, Rachel?
I do like kale.
Anyway, or a specific way?
I do. I like it in a salad with other lettuces and stuff. I don't like it just on its own. But one of the girls was, some of the girls here earlier on when I came in, I noticed that they had some soup and they were asking me about the kale because, of course, if I was a betting woman, I would say I know why somebody's knocking on the door. Come in.
Oh, Rachel, you're in the middle of the show? Little did we know.
No, not at all. There's something about these people around here when there's food. If you want something done at Real News PR, the only way to do it is to feed Oliver Twist here. You're like Oliver.
Just a spot.
Oh, okay. All right, Mike.
Just a spot.
Please, sir, I want some more.
I'm so excited about this. No, this is the best soup of my life. This is the best day of my life, you guys. This is the best soup. Oh.
Okay, so this is so I added the kale in towards the end because I don't want the kale to get all
Smell that.
Soggy. They can't smell it, unfortunately, on the cameras, but you can see how the textures, you know, with the kale. But the kale still has that little bite because you kind of want it to have a little bit of a bite, don't you?
Oh, yeah.
Well, I remember when I tasted it before, it had like, I don't want to say spicy, but it had amazing spices. The flavor was really rich and it had that, almost that Thai taste.
That's right, because we had the coconut milk in here, which I'm a huge proponent of using unsweetened coconut milk. It's good for you. And also all of these vegetables, you know, that we're talking about here.
We can't forget about Anna. Anna.
Poor Anna.
Someone's
We'll keep
enjoying
some for
themselves
Anna.
far too much.
Here you go. You want to try some?
Oh, yes.
But you kind of, I don't want to puree it down. I want the texture. Look at this one here. Sarah Crilly. So, do you think you guys could make this soup?
I mean, probably not as well,
Why?
but I don't know. Somehow I always mess stuff up. But following your direction, I think I could make a pretty decent go at it.
I have to make this soup. This soup needs to be
Yeah.
in my life every single
Rachel, you were saying
day.
that the recipe will be available soon. Isn't
Yes.
that
Does
right?
anybody want this recipe? I'll
Yes.
post it. Okay.
Yes.
Now, for those of you who are asking me for quantities, remember, I'm really bad at quantities. Because remember, what I do is, I think poor
Anna,
Anna
Anna.
should try some. Should we get poor Anna
How
a
many
little bit?
bowls does this usually make?
There's no question. You have to say yes. I
Yeah.
am getting a bowl of that.
Poor Anna. She's the only one. She's been in here all morning.
Yeah,
and-
running this show, of course. I mean,
and nobody's given her. I haven't got a spoon, but you'll find one for her. Thanks a
yes,
million,
thank
Sarah.
you.
So, but do you think? What do you think of the texture though, and the flavors? Like honestly, because people can't smell it and they can't take. Okay, right. So we know it's good and everything.
Yes.
But what do you think?
I
Like,
think it has like it's nice and it's not too thick so that you can't like sip the broth, but it's thick enough so that you still get the flavor with every time you bite.
now here's something else you guys need to have with it, right? Soda bread, Irish soda bread. Now, if you go to Ireland, you want to try some? All right. So this is Irish soda bread. At the top, I used chia seeds and sesame seeds. I have
So
a
you
recipe.
made this,
I
too?
did, and
Oh my
this
gosh.
recipe, Anna, we're posting the link to the recipe for the soda bread.
Yep.
Now, this soda bread is the most versatile bread ever because you can do lots of different flavors. Sometimes I'll put, grated cheese and jalapenos on the top, but it's done with buttermilk.
So this
And
is on your website
baking
as well, right?
powder. There it is. It's up on my website. So that's and we'll put up the link. So that's the basic bones of it, but you can add other things to it. Now, this kind of bread, after 2 days, I'm telling you guys, it'll be like a hockey puck. You can't use it. You could throw it against the wall.
Have it fresh.
You need to just have it and eat it. It's not something you're making sandwiches with. I do actually sometimes toast it and do. I do a pan-fried soda bread with beef and everything on top of it. But this is a very. You want to try this?
Please. Yes. So I was helping you carry things in. I don't know if you can hear me. It's heavy. It's heavy.
It's a dense bread.
It's a dense bread. That's a good bread.
But I was going to
You
say,
told me
that's the
that.
best for the toaster. That always is the best bread, especially like in the morning or in the afternoon when you're just coming home from something and trying it. Thank you.
Well, this is, and I buttered
So
it for them.
happy.
I had to have some Irish butter on there, but I thought, isn't that good? But do you know what's really good is for that bread to just dunk into the soup. Just it's a very sort of dunkable. So I guess what I'm trying to say is this is hearty. And all of these vegetables are loaded with antioxidants. And I don't want to sound like some sort of health preachy guru, but they're just good for you.
Oh, it's so good.
And you always know when something's good for you when there's a lot of colour. Lots of colour. And this is how I like to eat kale. So excuse me, but I'm going to do this as well. But look, I like when the rib is still in it.
And I don't like kale normally, and this I'll eat. And what you were saying about hearty, that's awesome because my husband, I always try to make him soups, and he's like, well, I'm never full after having a soup. Something like this, he would be full after.
Yeah, and I gave it to my husband the other night, and after 2 days, he said to me, man cannot live on soup alone. So I'm calling you out, Peter
Actually,
Smith.
Rachel, he was on the feed saying that
Pardon?
he loves your soups. He was saying he loves your
Who
soups.
said this?
I think your husband.
He does love my
Yes.
soups.
He says, I love your soup!
Oh.
Exclamation mark, exclamation mark.
No, he does. I want to ask him what's his favorite. I know my son Matthew Smith. Matt loves leek and potato soup. That's one of his favorite ones that I have to make for him. I feel like I should be opening Rachel's soup kitchen soon, you know?
Clearly.
But we should be doing like a soup exchange. But this is very sort of, if you were in Ireland, you know, this sort of stuff, you know, the root vegetables, or a staple on our diet, but they're done in so many ways. They're roasted and everything. Speaking of Ireland, earlier on, you and I were talking,
Yep.
and this is totally now last minute. This is what I love about coming into work in this place. So meet Sarah Strackhouse.
Hello.
Sarah's one of the journalists here at Real News PR, Real News Communications in Dallas. She's always she's the trusted reporter all over the city doing all the different reporting. But Sarah is going to Europe next year, and she's going to be in Greece, and she's going different places. But she's got a block of time. Sarah and Fred are going to Ireland.
Woo!
Yay! We finally have somebody going from here.
And immediately I was like, I have to talk to Rachel. There's literally no one else I'm going to go to ask any questions. Rachel has to help me.
And what did I say to you? I said, here's the deal.
Yeah.
So she's talking about where she wants to go and what she wants to do. And the dates are the end of February to the beginning of March
Yep.
of 2020. So I thought, you know what we'll do? We'll ask everybody out there. Because I think we need to send Sarah to places, and this is what I do every time I'm working with people who are going to Ireland. Each person is unique. Each person has their own kind of vibe, and I mean that sincerely. So Sarah and Fred.
Yep.
Fred may not be all over some of the ideas that you want.
Yeah,
And then, but here's the thing, I told you earlier on, I don't know if Peter's still watching, but, you know, my husband's been going to Ireland 25, 30 years, as long as we've known each other, 30 years. And then this time I did something different, and I told him, and he's like, I don't know. And then he said that was awesome. It was
Yep.
so good. And I think sometimes for some people, the thought of certain things aren't so great, and so you just need to learn how to say yes. So I think we should do this thing between now and when you go is,
Yep.
where should Sarah go? Where will we send Sarah?
That would be awesome.
So are you staying put in Dublin, or are you moving around? And so we have some flexibility on finding out who you are, who Fred is. And this is how you send people to the right places in Ireland, because it isn't one size fits all. Not everybody wants to be in a Michelin star restaurant. Not everybody wants to be in a pub. Some people want to do galleries. Some people want to do something very adventurous. So I'm kind of reaching out to the people in Ireland as well. So we've got 2 people from Dallas arriving in Dublin. When are you arriving?
We arrive on a Friday towards the end of February. Now,
Okay.
I can't remember which one.
And
but-
leaving on the Tuesday?
And leaving on a Wednesday.
On a Wednesday.
Yes.
Right. So what we're going to do is between now and the next couple of weeks is I will get the dates, and we'll look at whether you're going to be staying put in one place and looking at doing day trips, or if she's going to go to a couple of places and stay there and make her way
Yep.
back. We'll decide on that. But based on the amount of time that Sarah has, and this is my gut feeling straight away, is sadly, I'm from Cork and all those places. I don't think she should be bopping all over the country because I am so against speed dating with Ireland. I'd rather you be in some areas
Gotta do it right.
and experience, you know, maybe go north up to County Louth, to the Boyne Valley, the ancient East Coast. But Sarah Crilly and Anna, you were saying earlier on about, remember when I did that whole thing with the oyster shucking?
Yes.
Are you open to going to learn about
Yes,
oysters?
absolutely. I mean, we're open to a lot of things. So I know we'll talk about it on your next podcast, but any, advice people have, we're willing to kind of look at all options. We don't exactly have a plan. I love Guinness.
Okay.
So there's
Oh,
one
and you
thing.
did say you do like whiskeys, don't you?
I do. Yeah, we do. Both my husband and I.
Yeah, and you don't mean just like knocking it back. You want to
No.
learn about it.
Yeah, like I love rye. He likes some more of the bourbons, and so
Okay.
we kind of learn about everything.
So I need people to give me some feedback and some suggestions. We need your help. We need people in Ireland to figure out where are we going to send Sarah and Fred. Are we going to send them to County Louth? Are we going to send them to County Cavan? Are we going to keep them in Dublin or send them down to Wicklow? I kind of want to keep it in the contiguous counties so that they're not bopping all over the country inside of 4 or 5 days to get back again. That's just too much. So you need to always look at what your time frame is going to be like. how long you're going to be there, and you know, you want to get the most bang for your buck, if you like.
Yeah.
So you like food, obviously.
Yeah, love food. We both love food. We eat out all the time and love to try new places. But we're not super fancy.
Okay.
But we are open to
Just
trying
really
different-
good tasting food.
Really good food.
Yeah.
Yeah. So-
And experiences. So Ireland, I'm throwing out a challenge for you, for Sarah and Fred. Where should Sarah go? And part of me is thinking maybe we should send them up to Carlingford. What do you guys think? Maybe we should send them up to Carlingford oysters and learn all about the oysters there overlooking Carlingford Bay.
Yes.
I'm
Yeah.
in.
Yes. And remember, there was an episode where you were foraging things and then you made a soup with whatever you
When
picked up?
foraging on the
was that?
beach, we did a whole load of cooking on the beach. So we went out on the beach looking at the seaweeds and all the different foods out there. And then the local fisherman gave us some fish, and we cooked some of the fish under one of the tents and sat there and ate. And they gave you wetsuits if you wanted to go swimming.
That
And
sounds really fun.
I went scuba diving in Kenmare Bay, and all these kind of things. So I'm thinking you guys need to try something. You know, I really want people to see the Ireland that doesn't get exposed as much.
Yeah.
You know how I feel about that. I'm always going about real Ireland, meaning what's really happening there now. We know about the museums. We know we'll send you there, and I know you're going to go visit the Guinness Brewery.
Yes,
The Guinness
Oh,
Storehouse.
Yeah, I have to. I'm sorry.
Speaking of Guinness, I need to talk to them at Guinness. They're talking about doing for me a Guinness Christmas cocktail.
That sounds fun.
I know, here in Dallas, December 3rd, I think it is, for the Irish Network Dallas Fort Worth chapter. We're going to have
Oh,
a
I
Christmas
love
party. And so I'm wondering if I can get them into the studio and we'll do a Guinness Christmas cocktail. Wouldn't that be fun? Our holiday cocktail.
I might sneak back in that episode too.
Trust me, I won't be running the board
You
for
can't get
that
rid of
one.
me.
But what I'll do then, Sarah, is I will find out. I'll get some. We're going to just keep going. Where should Sarah go? Okay,
I'm
so
so excited. I have the best guide.
I almost wish I was with you.
Yes.
But when you're over there, you can send us some photos of, you know, and especially you can be our eyes and ears and scouts
Yeah.
if you find something new in Ireland
Yes,
that's worth talking
perfect.
about. So people in Ireland, if you want Sarah to stop by, visit, send some photos or video footage back, let us know. She will be based in Dublin, maybe Louth, Cavan, we don't know yet, but the end of February to beginning of March for about 5 days in 2020. And the Real News journalist will be over there, and we want her to send some info back to us here in Dallas and see what she discovers over there. So it'll be hashtag where should Sarah go?
Yay! Well, thank you so much.
Not at
I'll
all.
let you finish up your show.
Not
thank
at
you
all.
for the soup. I'm definitely going to take this out with me and
Enjoy
be back
it.
for more.
Not at all. Yeah, bye. So that's it for today. I'm putting my lid back on. Did you get some soup, Anna?
I did, and I already sipped it. It's so good.
Did
I
you
love
like it?
Thai. I love it so much.
Actually, it smells really good.
I
Am
can
I allowed to say
smell
that
it
about
from
my own
here.
soup?
Yes.
It
of
smells really
course.
good. It's just, I love hearty, delicious soups. You know, there's something about them. They're just wholesome and
And that bread.
scrummy, and it's just very wintry. We just kind of need that. So anyway, as you can see during the winter, I am just doing this episode every other Wednesday, every 2 weeks. We will gear back up every week when it comes to the spring and summer, but for now it's every 2 weeks. So we'll be back in 2 weeks. We'll obviously be coming up with some travel suggestions and that. And we'll be gearing up for Christmas and talking about some things then. But until next time, and I will be posting the recipe for this. The soda bread link is up, the recipe, but I will be posting the recipe for the soup shortly. Hopefully by the end of today, if not tomorrow morning, but the goal is by the end of today. So until next week, take care everybody, and slán leat.